My name is Elizabeth Seton, or Mother Seton, as most people now call me. I was born in New York City in August of 1774. My mother, Catherine, died when I was 3 years old, and my father soon remarried, giving me new stepbrothers and sisters, and I didn't even know really what was happening at the time. I very much enjoyed reading the scriptures when I was a child, and I wore a small crucifix around my neck to resemble my devotion to religion. My father educated me through my childhood, and I was especially fond of historical studies. Father thought that I should be intellectual rather than just learn how to be a good wife. However, I was taught how to be a lady and to have exceptional manners. At social events and parties, I was courted by many men, but in the end, I married William Seton in 1794. I was 20 years old. William and I had 5 beautiful children: Anna, Maria, William, Richard, Rebecca, and Catherine, all named after the people I admire the most. I have a picture here of them. This is me sitting with all my children when they were younger, and little William was still a baby. I loved to write in journals, and after my marriage I found myself not just writing thoughts onto a page, but writing my deepest thoughts and emotions into the form of mostly letters. The majority of them were addressed to my sister-in-law and the friend of my soul, as I called her, Rebecca Seton. The two of us had a business of going on missions trips together to help those in need, but those missions trips were soon halted when my father, a doctor, died of yellow fever, which he contracted while trying to save immigrants who came over on a plague-infested vessel. I stayed with him, holding his hand till the very end, when he finally accepted God and joyfully told me that he was headed to heaven. That was in 1801. Shortly after the death of my father, my dearest husband William became very ill as well. I went with him and my eldest daughter Anna Maria on a voyage to Leghorn, Italy, where our friends the Felicis could give him the best medical attention possible. When we arrived there, after a 2-month trip overseas, large men in uniforms ushered us off the ship and took us to a building that was large and dark and looked almost like a prison. We were later informed that it was a hospital and that we were in quarantine for the fear that William's sickness would be yellow fever. The 3 of us were trapped in that dark, damp, bare cell for many weeks. During that time, we had to witness immigrants that were put in cells all around us. They screamed and cried and just sounded completely miserable all day, every day we were in there. We weren't allowed to talk to other inmates, but we had a lovely man who came into our cell every day to take care of us. He got us our meals, retrieved our personal items to keep us more comfortable, and did whatever he could to make us feel like we were safe. Without him, or our faith in which we could talk to God every day and whenever we were feeling low, we probably would have been just as miserable as the other inmates of the hospital. Those days were horrid, boring, and all over uncomfortable experience. However, the days after we were released were the most important and impactful days of my life. I stayed by William's side, not getting much sleep at all, until he died holding my hand. That was 2 weeks after our release from the hospital and 2 days after Christmas Day. He, just like my father, had a religious epiphany soon before he passed into heaven, and he was overjoyed to be meeting our Creator once and for all. I mean, William was always a lovely spiritual man, don't get me wrong, but these last few days of his life were the most eye-opening to him. Despite my joy for his renewed faith, I couldn't help but feel sorrow for myself and my children. I had just become a widow at age 29 with 5 children to take care of, and I hadn't seen my children for months. I had no idea how they had taken the news of their father passing. I couldn't dwell too much on that fact, though, because I knew they were in good hands back at home, and I was to see them soon. Instead, I focused on my daughter Anna Maria and how we were to get home. We stayed with our friends the Felicis once again. They taught me the ways of Roman Catholicism through the religious heritage and culture of Italy. I had never questioned my Episcopalian faith until I spoke to the Felicis. Well, I wasn't really questioning my faith, but realizing that there are other faiths out there that could be just as much or more fulfilling. It opened a door to millions of questions I could not answer, but I knew would change my life forever. A few days later, Anna Maria and I went back to New York, and we were reunited with our family who couldn't be happier to see us. We ended up having to move into a lower income house because I could not afford most things without my William's help. Although we had to move, I met the nicest people in our new neighborhood who were part of St. Peter's Catholic Church. With their beautiful view on Catholic faith and my enduring trust in God, I made the decision to convert to Catholicism. After I was confirmed into the Catholic religion in 1805, I tried teaching and opening schools for boys, all of which failed after a short time. I suppose I was not fit for the profession of teaching male public education. I soon discovered that French priests, who had fled to the United States during the French Revolution, wanted to expand educational opportunities for girls in Baltimore, Maryland. A very kind man, Reverend Louis DeBerg, met with me in New York and then invited my family and I to Maryland. He said he could help us to start a new plan for our lives and help me to establish a small school to promote religious instruction. I couldn't have been happier on that day, for I knew my life was about to change for the better of me and my family. And I just knew that I would be able to teach religious material. That is the one thing in life that I was 100% sure about. In 1808, I became the founder or schoolmistress of a small girls' boarding school. By March of 1809, I was dedicated to making the Catholic girls' school last. At that time, I pronounced religious vows, and I said, "But to speak the joy of my soul at the prospect of being able to assist the poor, visit the sick, comfort the sorrowful, clothe the little innocents, and teach them to love God." And at that time, I was given the title of Mother Seton. By June 1809, I left Baltimore for a valley, which I named St. Joseph's Valley, in the Seton Mountains. My continually growing community moved into the house in the field in mid-February 1810, also named St. Joseph's House. I founded the Sisters of Charity of St. Joseph's as well. The sisters launched their educational initiatives, and candidates for the new sisterhood began arriving, Sally and Ellen Thompson of Emmitsburg, and since then, many familiar local names. Over 7,000 women have since come to Emmitsburg to join the Sisters and Daughters of Charity. I was elected the first mother of the Sisters of Charity of St. Joseph's until my death from tuberculosis in 1821. My different organizations continued on with their works and assisting others. In 1850, the community at Emmitsburg, the Sisters of Charity of St. Joseph's, formally became united with the Daughters of Charity of Paris, France. It was I who assured that all candidates were formed according to the spirit of Louise de Marlillac and Vincent de Paul, whose common rules of the Daughters of Charity I adopted for my own community, after their modification for the American culture. The most significant change to the rule made female education a priority through the Sisters of Charity of St. Joseph's organization. The Sisters and Daughters of Charity continue my mission through their ministries locally and globally. St. Euphemia's School, St. Joseph's High School, St. Joseph's College, and St. Joseph College High School at Emmitsburg, among others. The Daughters of Charity continue to offer services to our own community, including the Seton Center Outreach Program, the Thrift Shop, St. Catherine's Nursing Center, Mother Seton School, and the National Shrine of St. Elizabeth Ann Seton.